Okay, a little bit on fractures and bone healing, and then on bones and age, and we're almost there, just seven more slides. So, bone fractures. Bones can crack or break or fracture under severe stresses. Cracks would be, just cracking and staying in place. Breaking, we think more of there's been some movement of the two parts of the bone away from each other, although I'm not saying that that's the scientific definition. But a fracture is any crack or a break, all right, that can occur under severe stress. Fractures are broadly characterized as either being closed or open. In a closed fracture, the broken bone is under the skin. In an open fracture, the broken bone has broken through the skin and is sticking out through the skin. Open fractures are more likely to bleed profusely because the skin is no longer holding in the bleeding. And open fractures are also much more likely to become infected for obvious reasons because now your inner body parts are sticking out through your skin. So open fractures are more dangerous. All right, how do bones repair? Well, if the blood supply is intact and the osteoprogenitor cells in the periosteum and the endosteum survive a fracture, a bone will be able to repair itself. The extensive blood supply to bones delivers very plentiful oxygen and nutrients that are needed to help with the repair. And so the situation is as good as it can be, considering how bad it is to break a bone. So now I'm going to go through what happens when you break a bone. So right after a bone breaks, the bone bleeds and a clot forms, just as it would in any injury to the body. And then an internal callus of fibrocartilage unites the inner edges. Okay, so here's an internal callus in the panel B here, an internal callus of fibrocartilage uniting the inner edges of the break. An external callus of hyaline cartilage and spongy bone stabilizes the outer edges. Now, of course, all this would take some time. This isn't going to happen. A clot would form within minutes, an hour or whatever. Laying down new cartilage and spongy bone would take some time. Next, as healing progresses, the internal and external callus are completely replaced by spongy and compact bone, right? At first, the area where the break forms a bulge in the bone. But over time, the callus can be completely remodeled and the bulge can disappear. And the bone will actually be thicker and stronger than the original bone. So that is really cool. There must have been considerable evolutionary advantages to having this be the structures and the functions and the physiology to have developed over time that it is so possible to completely heal a bone. I mean, it's pretty amazing, right? There must have been evolutionary drivers, stressors that made that you were more likely to reproduce if you were able to heal bones well. And over time, we got this amazing ability to heal bones. Okay, the fractures and bone healing were the part of this lecture that are found in the Martinis chapter 5.3. And now also are bones and aging. They're found in chapter 5.3. So now bones and aging. Okay, so during younger adulthood, the breakdown and the buildup of bones are equal. Bone density peaks in the early 20s. But with age, more bone is broken down by osteoclasts than is built up by osteoblasts. And bone begins to lose density and get weaker. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. So we can actually reproduce starting in our teens. Then planned obsolescence, it starts so early. Our bone density peaks in our 20s, and then after that, it starts to break down. At around age 35, the loss of bone mass begins to increase. And after that, women lose around 8% of their bone mass every 10 years, and men lose around 3% of their bone mass every 10 years. So a lot of bone loss occurs with age. The bone loss occurs in vertebrae, and that results in loss of height. You may have heard your mother or your grandparents, somebody joking, I used to be taller, but it's true. And bone loss can occur in the jaw, leading to the loss of teeth that older people, or if you have pets, sometimes pets like dogs and cats, we can all start losing our teeth as we get older. Oh, gosh. All right. Osteoporosis. This is a clinical correlation. When bone density decreases severely, it's called osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is more common in older women than in older men, but either sex can get osteoporosis. Women are thought to be more at risk because they have a lighter skeleton to begin with, and also because estrogen decreases after menopause, and estrogen increases activities of osteoblasts. So when there's lower estrogen, osteoblasts form less bone. They build up less bone. Okay, osteoporosis is a serious problem. It can lead to fractures of the vertebrae, which are very painful, fractures of the wrist if people fall, and fractures of hip bones. Hip fractures, often at the hip, often at the femur neck, can lead to severe consequences, including prolonged bed rest leading to pneumonia, blood clots, and then the blood clots leading to strokes. Hip fractures can lead to other infections, all of which can lead to death. And if you look at this panel on the lower right, you see that here's survival after a hip fracture in months, and it's pretty bleak. Fracturing the hip is very serious. So it's best if osteoporosis is prevented. In order to prevent osteoporosis, it is recommended that we perform weight-bearing exercises during the entire course of our lives. People should never stop walking, but it is also recommended that people do things like lift weights, which increases bone mass. And then as both a treatment and prevention of osteoporosis, to take calcium or eat calcium-rich foods, to take vitamin D, or to eat vitamin D-rich foods. And all three of these, actually, calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing exercises, can both be used for prevention and treatment. So even if a person already has osteoporosis, that doesn't mean that they can't build back up the bone that they've lost. Even in people that are in their 90s, they are able to exercise, improve the condition of their muscles, and improve their bone density. So that's terrific. Okay, that's the end. Stop, share, and I will see you soon.